Okay, here we are again for another episode of the FLT podcast. Kelly, how are you doing?
I'm feeling great. How are you?
Yeah, doing good. Getting ready for summer. Today, we're going to take a look at Finnish leadership in an international context, and I am delighted to have Toni Räsänen with me here today. How are you doing, Toni?
Very good. Yeah, thank you for the invite.
Good. Toni is the COO for Arctic 15 and has many years of experience both in Finland and abroad. So I'm really looking forward to your wisdom and expertise about what it's like leading in different contexts. Have you got plans for the summer?
The Arctic 15 is on the 11th and 12th of June, so the focus will be there. Then maybe some summer holidays. I've never had actually in July holidays, so I'm looking forward for that. But
you've never had a holiday in July?
No.
You're the one. So everybody else takes the July off, and you're the guy.
Yeah. No. I've been working in travel so many years, and July is the main season when people travel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's why I have to be on alert if something happens. So yeah, normally it's September, end of September when I have the holidays.
Yeah.
Perhaps this is a good time to share more with our audience about your story, Toni. Could you share us a little bit about your background?
Yes. Hopefully it's not going to be too long one. Yeah. Okay, I'll start, with the Arctic Startup. So Arctic Startup has been arranging different kind of startup investor events for the past 15 years. So actually Arctic 15 now in June will be the 15th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been going on for quite a long time. And then in September we will have Nordeep, which is a deep tech event as well. So if I was talking about my holidays before, I can forget those in September because it's exactly the same time. So maybe in October.
Mm.
But yeah, I joined Arctic Startup 6 months ago.
Mm.
So I haven't been in the event side of or event business before. But then I got to know the CEO, Vedat Öndas, who's been there for 6-7 years, and he asked me to join. So the timing was perfect because before Arctic Startup, I co-founded a travel company in the Nordics, and we had that going on for 3 years. So we basically started from zero.
Mm.
We had a small team in Finland, in Sweden, and then we had external partners and investors abroad. So it was like a very hybrid operation. But we decided to end that travel business end of last year. So this was actually quite natural to move on to Arctic Startup.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived around 14-15 years abroad, 13 different countries because of the travel side. And 6-7 years
You said 13?
13, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. 6-7 years ago, just before COVID, we moved back to Finland. And then I decided, okay, travel is over. I'll do something else. So I was managing director in smaller companies in Finland related to loyalty management, SMEs. Then I started also supporting startups, co-founded something, was the COO, was an advisor. So I've been in the startup scene for the past 6-7 years. Before that, and then we go to 2019, I had I think in my professional career, the best, learning years. I was working for Booking.com, the Dutch company. I was there 7.5 years.
Okay.
So back in 2011, they wanted to expand to Finland. So I opened the office in Finland. And then I learned quite a lot in the first 2 years. And then my director, who was in Germany, asked me if I would be interested to relocate abroad. Because that was the Booking.com's core kind of mindset that they wanted to. They scaled so fast, they grew so fast, 3-digit growth in all the countries, and then they wanted to bring this kind of a leadership also to other countries to set up the local entity and train the people. So during that time, after 2 years in Finland, I was 2 years in China, in Guangzhou, which is for everybody a big market. And then after 2 years, then another opportunity came up and with Booking.com, and then I moved to South Africa in Cape Town. And that was a huge growth period also for Africa, which still has a lot of potential for everybody, all the companies. So I had 7 different offices in Africa. So basically in charge for Booking.com in Sub-Saharan Africa. We had an office in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Kenya, in 3 offices in South Africa, Johannesburg and Durban. And then we had my favorite office was in Mauritius, where I had to travel.
You had to travel
every
to
6
Mauritius. Oh, bummer.
weeks.
Good
Yeah.
God.
So those were the good times. But,
yeah,
yeah.
that's, the Mauritius office. Yeah, I think that's we have to consider opening something there ourselves.
Exactly.
You mentioned so you were moving there to like export the leadership style or like leadership principles. Was
Yes.
that like the explicit like goal? Like I guess did you take over like similar managing director type roles?
Yeah,
in China.
We had general manager, country manager roles. In China, we were split in 3 different parts. It's a big country.
Yeah.
So my colleague and friend from Poland, he went to Beijing.
Okay.
And then I had a Chinese colleague. I think he's still in Booking.com. So he was in Shanghai, and then I was in Guangzhou in the very south part, 2 hours from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So it was, China was growing, the teams were growing, so they just wanted to have this European style
leadership.
Because Booking.com was very, I hope still is, very flat organization.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's no hierarchy, there's no pleasures and suites and like that. Even the CEO that time, maximum they had a white shirt if they came. Was this thing. But it was easy to talk with them. Pace was really, really fast, and that's, I think, was the idea that we will get the local teams, adapted with this mindset, and then let them go. We will find a local leader there, and they will carry on with the same pace.
How do you export like a mindset or like a leadership style? Like, did people know like they were coming in to think differently, or like how did it start?
What I could see that, small things, for China, I always share the experience, being, coming from Finland is that, and if I compare to my first team in Finland, that we were quite proactive, that people, we say that, okay, the focus is here, and then individually they will understand, how to get there. Of course, there's different levels of people, which we also looked in Booking.com very closely, that how do we develop people, how do we coach them like that. But in Finland, everybody was quite active, or proactive, and they knew what to do. They didn't need so much guidance. But in China, it was totally the opposite. It's also about the cultural thing, and not only on the leadership part, but they were many times, they would come behind of my door and they would ask, I don't know what to do. How should we solve this problem? And then, trying to, with small things, to coach them to think about, just basically that, what are the options for you? How do you evaluate those? Using different mechanism for the feedback for them in a quarterly reviews, for example. So slowly they were able to understand that maybe the thing for them was that they understood that they can be actually unleashed. It's not that you have to report everything to the manager, that, you have the openness and you just take the ownership of doing things.
Yeah, you can have the permission to,
yes, exactly.
to start, because I think that's quite, at least some of the experiences that I have is that it's a very permission-based like ways of working there. So it's quite, the reason I think most people in China or the workers in China don't take initiative is that they've had so many years where if they did, it was a bad thing and they were like potentially punished for it.
Yeah. Yeah, the rules were kind of, unwritten there, because I remember one experience was that, when I started there and then I was first one in the office, like 8:30, there was nobody. And then, we had much longer days in China, for example, that, it was like, 6, 7 or something like that. And then I left like, 6:30, 7 o'clock. And then I could see that everybody was in the office. They didn't leave. And then one of the colleagues, when they got, not the courage, but understanding that they can actually approach me, that I'm not, I'm a different kind of a leader, that, you can talk to me freely. And then she mentioned that, do you know that in China, actually, that when the Laoban, the manager in Chinese, that nobody leaves before the manager. And then they told me that, okay, it's totally fine. So everybody was, waiting that I will leave from the office. That you can come what time you want and leave what times. It's not so strict.
It's the same in Japan. I've seen it myself. It's difficult to get used to once you start acclimatizing.
I wanted to ask Toni, how was it for you, your experience as a Finnish leader going there? Did you experience any other culture shocks or company shocks?
Not maybe as a company shock, because this came from Booking.com for the first 2 years. So it was really in a growth stage that time. Like I said, that the growth was 3 digits everywhere, even in London, New York, the big cities. And then they focused a lot on leadership training. So I went to Amsterdam quite often and had very intensive training periods there about the leadership, about the coaching and art of influencing. But it was really people focused, not so performance driven in the beginning. So I think I went there with quite well equipped the Booking.com. We got the Booking Blue. I think Volt had the same at least, or I don't know if they have it still, but yeah, Booking Blue kind of, values and formula. So values were, very important, and then the formula, how we execute. So that went on for many, many years, that people really believed on those. That was one of the things why we got so great results globally. So I went with those and kind of, taught, to the teams all these points. And then we had the pressure of, of course, growing still in a rapid pace, but we were able to do it. But yeah.
Yeah, so it did work?
I would say, yeah. But I could see also, because we were 3 different directors in China also, that we had a little bit different style of leading the teams and getting results. But of course, it's, apples and oranges. You can compare the different regions. For example, in China, they are very different. So, but yeah, I think it also helped me then when I moved to South Africa, and totally different market.
Yeah, and how did that go? Was it easier, like second time around, to kind of...
It was, yeah. Of course, like I was saying earlier, that it was, the main objective for that is that when somebody comes, from an international office and goes to the local office, that we find the talent, we coach, the next leader to take the position, and then we leave, basically, or go somewhere else. So I think in South Africa, it was the case that there were already local managers who were quite long in the company, and they were looking to get the position, what I took, as coming outside.
That's okay. Yeah.
So that,
Mr. Popular.
Exactly. that I remember the first thing when I entered South Africa, that was the thing that I had to really, be open and, show my skills and experience, for the team, that they could believe in me. That was challenging part in the beginning, but it went quite well. I think I have a good vision on which organization I have been involved or I went in. I can see quite quickly that what are the challenges in the organization on, communication. Often its focus is missing, that you're doing a lot of things at the same time, and you're just not able to put it into a box. I'm more like a red person as a leader, that I need like visual, 5 things that, okay, we will go ahead with those. That's one of the things. And then I focused a lot on people. Yeah. So if we talk about leadership, that I think I have an eye for the talent and the potential, and kind of, the patience to have like an adaptive leadership style on each individual. So this is what I see many managers who have one style only. Yeah.
And so that's like I guess your philosophy on leadership, if maybe that's a bit of a big way to say it, but you're both like a red style leader where you need the list, but you adapt the way you approach based on the people you work with.
Absolutely, yeah. I think each individual, because I can see that how they work, and if they are struggling on certain things, they cannot maybe see the helicopter view. They're not maybe so futuristic or have a vision on that, or they can see it, but they don't know how to take the next steps going there. So then you need to, I don't think that I have ever micromanaged people, but I'll just coach them, step by step, how they can follow and grow.
Yeah.
You mentioned that your leadership style is different and adaptive. If we zoomed out a little bit on that and think about Finnish leadership in general, what do you believe are the Finnish qualities in leadership?
Yeah, the first thing what comes to my mind is really that I think the Finns get things done. So I think if somebody has gone to an international company abroad, of course, they might not know about Finland or, Finnish leadership style. But, when after gaining the trust You know, I think they can see that, okay, this person will deliver. I think we are quite honest also, that I can see also in the past years that working with international team members or directors, that they might, you know, have the vision is very, very, you know, high. And we are maybe as Finns more down to earth. We don't want to overpromise things that, you know, if we going to hit 100, then what is the realistic view on that? That how are we going to actually maybe a little bit down to earth, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's come up in a few discussions before about like, are Finnish leaders or Finnish companies even like ambitious enough? And it's an interesting question, because I think there's a difference between necessarily like what's the ambition and then what's the stuff we communicate. Because I think Finns generally communicate like 2-3 steps ahead, because they don't necessarily want to overpromise, and then also because they know the world changes, and if the world changes, then having like a, you know, a north that's maybe over here now doesn't make so much sense. And so I think they maybe not so good at the storytelling part or the articulation of like the big ambition, but they still have, I think, like ambitious goals.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. I think I was in one. Well, actually, it was yesterday, so I should remember that I was in a board meeting.
It's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah, exactly. But in a board meeting, we made a couple of months ago a strategy for a taxi company in Finland, and then, you know, explaining that with the new board members was something that I could see that maybe I talk, you know, too much. Maybe these are the things that I have picked up from, you know, being abroad so many years, that I could see that it was too much information for them. I went too far with the vision and the strategy, how we're going to do it. So maybe, I totally agree on that maybe we tend to be a little bit on the few steps ahead. But, you know, talking with the international investors, for example, or companies, or then maybe we stay a little bit in the first step, kind of
safer, like
not
safer zone,
over, you know, selling and promising and like that. Even though startups need that, of course, when trying to get the money.
Yeah, exactly. Every startup does. Maybe before we get to startups, you got out of the travel industry the year before COVID, or like how long before COVID?
Yeah, it was 10 months, something like that.
So enjoyed the office in Mauritius and had the career.
Yes.
And then like, okay, this is a good time.
Exactly. And then, but, you know, 6 years abroad altogether, then in that stint with Booking.com, and thinking, you know, what will be next. The company is growing, but also seeing that, well, after I left, then doing different things and different positions in the organizations or companies, I guess, okay, I learned certain things very, you know, beneficial for me as a leader, and about, you know, growing a big business. But then some of the things I did not learn, what I have learned now, you know, stepping out.
Okay.
Because we were so focused on the certain things with that.
Yeah, growing the business like inside from the company perspective.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what? Could you give an example of the type of?
Well,
things
if you, it was I don't know if I should say it, but, you know, it was a little bit cultural shock for me coming back after 6 years.
Yeah.
And of course, Africa is very different, but I really value the time there now when I go back to the memory lane. But you know, coming back to Finland, okay, I have now learned, because in South Africa, they drive on the other side, you know, like the British
like the Brits, yeah.
So I tend to walk on the left side also on the escalators and like that. So that took many years for me. But yeah, coming back, it was maybe from an international environment, you know, with working, I don't know how many nationalities I worked in that time, but I think at least 20 different nationalities. And then coming back to a Finnish SME, every day is about, you know, in Finnish language, the communication like that. But then, you know, growing the company as the managing director, then you need to look on marketing and sales in a very different way than in Booking.com, where we had in the head office in Amsterdam, where they executed everything. 1 year, the invoice for Google online marketing was $4 billion USD only. So that went quite automatically.
Yeah.
But then stepping out and then have to do that for SMEs, you know, it's a
the holistic approach to the whole business system.
Exactly. Yeah.
So with your international experience and with what you're doing now with Arctic 15 and you're surrounded and working with founders, investors, and the whole startup ecosystem, what do you think that Finnish leaders can learn from the global context, from global networks in terms of growth?
Yeah, I think nowadays, well, we had a fantastic year in Finland. If you look on startups and investments coming into the companies, and of course, space and AI, well, health tech is taking the biggest part of that, and then but there's so many opportunities for the startups. But I think many of the founders are really looking into now. That's number one, that you focus on the global scalability, that you're not only building for Finland.
Yeah.
But having said that, it's also important to point that not all the companies needs to be unicorns. That it can be a smaller business, and you maybe hire a few people there, and that's totally fine. So then it's for the Finnish market. But for the bigger companies, it's something that you have to aim global from the beginning. I think this is what I said in the past. Being in different countries, working with different intercultural teams and so on, then you understand the markets. That going global, you should understand actually about the market and the people, and the culture is quite important.
Yeah.
Like I still say the same thing, that when I was in China, I could see that they were 5 years ahead of Europe and US, and that's maybe the gap is growing. How AI was used that time already, 10 years ago. How they're building super apps in Asia, where we are talking here now little about it. I think Volt is bringing some Expedia, not Expedia, but Uber is bringing Expedia hotels on their side.
Yeah.
Or to the platform and so on. So these are the things. But 10 years ago, you had already in China few apps where you could pay, utility bill or your groceries. Everything was there in one app.
Yeah.
So I think the point just to say is to go abroad, be international, understand the local market, conditions, get to know people, and then you will understand how to actually be more international where you want to go.
I mean, it resonates with you or not, but I think it was last week. I've done this like 2 or 3 times in the Maria O1 community, where you talk with like a new startup business who have like a customer set, like, and a product already, and they're very happy to tell you at length about the details of the product and how it works and why they're proud of it and why it's making a difference. But then you ask, like, okay, who are your customers, and then why are they buying you? You get like 10, if there's 10 people in the company, you get 10 different answers about like actually what's the value proposition that the customers are seeing, rather than one they think that they're building. And I wonder if that, like, I don't know if you mentioned like you learned about like sort of marketing and the holistic business system. In your experience, are Finnish companies, when they start out on a growth journey, connected enough to their customer base? Are they good enough at like taking feedback?
Maybe now the new startups, they really, I think we've been talking about that for some years, so they understand it. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we tend to do in Finland still about that we are building that product or service as good as it can be, so that you can proudly present that to the potential customers and then get feedback. But you have maybe gone too long away with that already, so that you should go faster. And this was the still Booking.com mindset, that we scale very fast, and you can make mistakes. Even when I talk about the online marketing engine in Amsterdam, that they did on the website to over 200 A/B tests every day. And they had the freedom to do it, just to test it, if it's really positive.
Yeah.
And then you can implement that right away. So they went really, really fast. So maybe in Finland, and maybe when I plan something now with Arctic Startup as well, that I may be doing it for the first time, learning about the event side. I might do it too perfectly, trying to do it, and we're talking about communication, even, when I reach out to the speakers, how I design the program. And then we've been talking with Kelly about it also, that how do I approach, what do I, should be short, or I want to give enough information about it. So maybe I, make the mistake that I try to do it too perfectly now. So some things never, leave from the Finnish
approach.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Toni, thank you very much.
Thank
You've been
you.
really generous with your time. This has been fantastic discussion.
Thank you so much. It was very nice.
Could you let us know one more time when Arctic 15 will be and how we can get more information?
Arctic 15, so our 15th year anniversary edition is on the 11th and 12th of June. So in 2 weeks' time, Thursday and Friday, on the website arctic15.com, you can still get some tickets. We've been doing it for 15 years, and now we will have the record amount of people who are coming there, also international investors, which is one of the main things that we want to invite them to Finland and to Helsinki and have local Finnish, Nordic, international founders meeting them easier, because it's a good, we have in Kaapelitehdas in Cable Factory, where you cannot hide.
Yeah.
You know, you will.
It's just you and the
We will
walls.
fight.
Exactly. Yeah.
We'll see you there.
Yes.
Thanks, Toni.
Thank you.